Yeah, appreciate y'all coming out. I don't know if I really need this mic, do I? Maybe for the computer here. Okay. Yeah, I'm used to talking loud enough, I guess. But no, I want to start off by saying extremely happy with this class. I think we signed a great group of young men that's going to help us here for a long time. Want to really thank my staff. They did a phenomenal job. If you think about it, we had about 2 weeks, so we were on the road for about 8 days because we came back every Thursday night to put together a recruiting class that weekend. And for us to get this caliber athletes to join the program here after just being on the road for 8 days, I think speaks volumes for the staff. So very proud of the staff and the hard work they put into this. We signed 7 mid-years. There was 3 young men that were signed right before us getting here. And then that first week we were here on campus, we signed 4 other mid-year guys, and we got a quarterback in Knox Kadam from Virginia Tech. We got a kicker in C.J. Moya, and then a handful of others. We got 2 safeties, Jermaine McMillan and Tyler Barnes from Central Florida and Southern Mississippi. So, having those guys add in right away, we knew there was some areas of concern, and we needed some help in those areas. So it was nice to get those mid-years here right off the bat. And then, we got 14 incoming freshmen that we signed this morning. So a total class of 22. A good mixture of all areas. We got 12 young men from the state of Louisiana, 4 from Florida, 3 from Texas, 1 from Georgia, 1 from Mississippi, and 1 from Colorado. The position breakdown in that, we've got 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 6 offensive linemen, 3 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, 5 DBs, and a kicker. Kind of hard for us to really sit here and decide exactly what we need to improve on since we have not taken 1 snap with our guys on the field. We did see them condition several mornings before hitting the road. It's kind of like putting a jigsaw puzzle together without having the picture. We've got a good team here, we do, but we need to add a few more pieces that after spring ball, we'll have a better idea of maybe what some areas of concerns might be. We did hold back a few scholarships. That way we can get into the portal if we need be in certain areas. But overall, really, really excited about these young men joining the program here. I think we got some great talent. We got 5 all-state players, numerous number of all-district players, and guys that are pretty dynamic, can play multiple positions. So with that being said, I'll pause right there and for any questions.
How many did you hold back? How many open spots do you still have?
Right now we've got 4, the reason you see us signing 6 offensive linemen, is they're kind of like, these unicorns that you can't really find. It's almost like a dying breed of football. We found some really good high school players that we can develop and are going to be really good players for us. A few of them might contribute early. But if you look at this portal, the crazy world we live in right now, it can be an NAI player, a D2 player, or FCS player. As soon as an offensive lineman gets into the portal, they've got multiple offers. So that's why you see us really focusing right there on the offensive line and defensive line. Those are guys that we got to, kind of develop in the program a little bit and be very successful with them down the road. So those 4 scholarships we held back, what are we looking for? Not quite sure. But in case we get through spring ball and say, hey, we need another outside linebacker, or we need another safety, or we need another receiver, at least we'll have a shot to go correct those situations prior to the season.
It seems like size. I think the average, when I averaged out your offensive line class, it's somewhere around 6'5", 302.
God, that's pretty, ain't it?
That's massive for high school. Were you looking just for size, or is that just part of the game?
No. I mean, obviously size helps. Every coach out there wants the biggest, fastest, strongest. But these offensive linemen and defensive linemen, they all got great size, and they're really good football players. Philip Bradford's a 6'5", 285-pound young man that plays basketball, can dribble it behind his back, through his legs, and throw it down. So these big guys are very athletic, and that's kind of what we look for there. But I hate to put just a stamp on we must have this cookie-cutter size at this position. I think if you do that, you're going to miss a lot of really good football players out there. But size does matter when you're in the trenches, that's for sure.
And was that the kind of recognized, that and quarterback, was that kind of the 2 recognized spots going in?
It's hard to say. They ran a different system here than what we ran. But like I said, you can never have too many offensive and defensive linemen. You got to have those guys. And then as far as the trigger man, I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously the starter that's been here for 3 or 4 years has graduated. So we want to add somebody else to that position. I do think we've got some young men that are already on the roster that are very capable of being starters. So it'll be for us kind of to go through spring ball and see who learns our offense and can protect the football. But, from Dylan Simon to Devin Tott to, several others, I think we're very dynamic in that position, so it should be a great battle all spring.
Switching gears a little bit, Coach, on the defensive side, you signed 5 defensive backs, especially after some that were here in the program last season entered the transfer portal. How important was that to add that depth?
Yeah, very. And obviously, we knew some guys got in the portal in that position and left before we ever got here, so we knew we had some holes to fill there. I think getting the 2 mid-year guys right off the bat, and Jermaine McMillan from Central Florida, and then Tyler Barnes from Southern Miss is a big addition right there since we lost 2 really good safeties. So, but then we signed some young guys. I mean, Crazion Bennett from Iowa. I mean, he's a 10-700 meter guy. He can flat out fly. Very hard for freshmen to come in and play, but I do think there are a few spots that they possibly can be. He's a big guy, so depending on how well of a summer he has, we'll see how he develops there. But he'll play pretty fast at some point just because he's got elite speed.
How tough was it being that you were behind coming in late?
It was pretty difficult. If you think about it, the state of Louisiana had 6 Division I coaching changes. So all of us got the job about the same time. So all of us are out there fighting for the same kids these last 2.5 weeks. I can't tell you the number of home visits we had where we walked out of the living room and we're staring right into a car with 4 or 5 coaches from another school. A little awkward at times, so the best thing we did to is we just kind of waved at them, laughed at each other, and then kept on walking. But that was pretty consistent throughout a lot of these home visits. So that tells you right there there's a lot of schools that were behind the 8 ball. But with that being said, I feel like we won a lot of those battles. I really did. We could talk about all these, break them all the way down and be here for an hour plus. But Greg Knox, for instance, he had 6 or 7 offers. He had the entire Southland. That's a big get for us right there. Philip Bradford, another young man, our defensive lineman we signed, had a lot of offers. Big athletic guy. He had several FBS preferred walk-ons. So the staff did a phenomenal job getting out there. Showing these young men what we have to offer here, not as just a university, but also as a coaching staff, university all together, and telling their families we're going to take care of them. So, very pleased. I mean, I don't. Only time will tell, right? Everybody's excited about signing day, but I mean, this is a great class. I mean, I can't wait for a couple years down the road to look back and say, wow, And one thing we talked about this morning as a staff, these young men and families joining our program and our university here will think about next year when we've got the press box being built. We got other things on campus being finished up. I mean, and we've won some games. We've got some games under our belt. I mean, hopefully things continue to get a little bit easier and easier. So the fact that we were able to go out and find some young men that's going to help us and they're really good players is very exciting about the future.
You've got several players, doing certain research on their bios and stuff. Several guys that played both offensive and defense in high school. How big is it to have someone that is versatile like that?
Well, you're probably talking kind of like Javon Davis from John Curtis. He played receiver and safety. He's one of our 5 DBs. He's a really dynamic safety. You watch his highlight film, and he's got a lot of pick sixes. He's got great ball skills. But there's a lot of schools out there with some really good players that play both ways just because of the size of the school. But that does show you that it's one of the school's better athletes for sure. So it definitely is an advantage as we look at it.
Based on what's happened in the past here and being behind a couple of years with the probation and all that, how much was it just to get the numbers of the high schoolers to kind of start establishing kind of the building blocks again?
Well, I mean, I think me and you've talked about this before. I don't like the portal, but it's the world we live in. I haven't met one coach out there that loves the portal. But I understand it. So, there's got to be some type of happy median, and this is kind of a lot of coaches' first time going through this roster management. So for us to kind of figure out what is that formula. Is it a good high school class every year of around 15 or 20, and then you're taking 6 or 7 out of the portal every year? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that, but I do think it's very important to have a great foundation. That's got to start with these high school players because they're the ones you get in here and develop, retain them, establish your culture with. You got to be very careful in that portal sometimes, because if you're getting a young man that's got one season left, you better do your homework. What kind of person are you adding to the program? We were very fortunate at Valdosta State with that. We'd vetted out all of our grad transfers and had some great young men there who I hope are part of my life, forever. But I also have heard some of these stories where you get some guys that just can't really play for you and maybe might be bad apples. So you got to do your homework. You can't just look at where they're coming from. You better be making some phone calls to some coach who have coached them at some point, might not even be at that school anymore. But high school is, in my opinion, where you got to lay the foundation.
Coach, how do you feel like, in terms of setting a foundation and building chemistry, did you feel that that's going to be a big part, especially when dealing with a whole lot of young men that are from this general area?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely important, and that's one thing when we were all these homes is talking to their families. I mean, look, if you're trying to win championships, it can't be just football. It can't. It's just not that easy, right? If it was that easy, there'd be a lot of schools out there that's got a lot of national championships. It's got to be more than football. It's got to be a culture. It's got to be some values, some standards, holding each other accountable. It's got to be about the personal, well-being of that individual, and then football altogether. So, us getting to the homes and talking to the families about that, and giving them a vision of what McNeese State's going to look like, what our program is going to be from here on out, was very, very important for us getting these young men involved in our program. So, I think establishing that culture and getting these young men are really from our region, some from right here in Lake Charles, almost all of them right here from, Southwest Louisiana area. So I think it's a big part of it. And let's be honest, we want their families to fill this stadium. We want them here watching their young men be a part of something special. So, it pays dividends to recruit your area and do a great job with it.
A lot of coaches I've talked to about that play fast, like you're going to play, talk about getting the numbers of the linemen just so you can practice. Because you don't want to wear them out. And we're just kind of 2 years removed from a season where we had that problem where they couldn't practice because they didn't have enough linemen. Do you think that that's a big part of getting linemen here, is just have practices?
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's every program, and really it is, in my opinion. I mean, I've got friends that coach other schools, whether it's FBS or FCS or Division II. They might not run the air raid, but every spring they're sitting there going, we got 9 offensive linemen to get us through spring. It's like that everywhere. That's why you see so many young men that enter the portal that might be from a lesser level school are getting some big-time offers. And we tell those young men, be careful, do your homework, because you might just be going somewhere to help them get through spring ball, and then you might not play anymore. But yeah, having depth at the O-line and D-line is the most important thing. You can't play football without them. You can line somebody up at receiver, at DB. It might not be great, but you can't play the game without enough offensive and defensive linemen. So, we've also got a handful of PWOs. Really, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be about 12. Can't really talk about those individually, but we got more offensive linemen coming. So I told Coach Allgood this morning, I said, I should never hear you complain about you need more offensive linemen. He just rolled his eyes at me and laughed. But we should have up in the low 20s offensive line starting camp.
Some of these veterans on the team, Coach, when the younger players get a chance to finally meet them and to talk X's and O's with them, how confident are you that they'll be able to help them buy into what you told them once you stepped up?
Well, I'm very confident in that. I mentioned before we got started, we're excited today's over. It's a great day. It's like Christmas for us coaches, but I'm very excited to get on the field with our team. We haven't been out there much. We've been on the road recruiting to the point where a lot of our players were meeting with, Kelsey saying, when is our coaches going to be here? Like, we're ready to work with them. She's like, well, they're out recruiting for the program right now. So we're anxious to go on the field with them, just like they're anxious for us to be out there with them. Culture doesn't happen overnight. We're going to have some rainy days. I understand that. But our culture will start to take shape and be established as we're finishing this semester and throughout the summer. So to answer your question, for our team to kind of, bring those incoming freshmen under their wing and kind of show them, the right and wrong here, absolutely. They'll know exactly what the expectations are.
Coach, coming in at the time that you did, Coach Wilson and his staff had already gotten some commitments. How did it go as far as going to those guys and trying to, save those commitments? And Were there others that you just sort of let go because you weren't interested in? Just talk about that process.
Yeah, so, y'all know the whirlwind it took for me to get here,
Yeah.
So I got the staff in place January 2nd, and I think they all drove in that day. A few flew in that day. So that afternoon was our first day in the office, and the coaches are still walking around like, okay, this is my office. That's cool. Let me see the facilities. As I'm sitting there going, no, we ain't got time to show you the facilities. We got to start recruiting. So what we did first is, we had to start contacting our current team. You got to recruit your current team, right? The D-line coach would call the D-lineman and so forth. Everybody start reaching out to their guys, introducing themselves. So then we were handed basically a list of here's the commitments that we did have, okay, and then here's another list of guys that we've offered. So we went back through and started evaluating them, and no knock on anybody. We just might look for things differently than the previous staff or for whatever reason, different style of offense or defense. Some of those guys we wanted to keep, so we went after them, and told them, hey, we love you. We want you here still. You got to get to know us. We'll be in your homes. We want to get to talking with you. Some of them, we told we were going another direction. It might not just fit what we did. We did check grades. Some of them might not have fit, necessarily academically. And then we moved down to the group of young men that have been offered. Hadn't committed yet, but they've been offered. And that's where those are the guys we chase, for the last, 2 weeks. Because what happened is during the coaching change, then everybody jumps in and starts showing them more attention and offering them. So I think we saw Nichols, Southeastern, Grambling, Southern, every turn. I feel like we work together right now. We've seen them so much. So that was a little bit of a challenge, but it's part of it. It was better coming in at the beginning of January than coming in at the end of January. I've done that before too, and that's a nightmare. It's like I said, it's like trying to put together a jigsaw puzzle, and you don't even have all the pieces yet. But I'm very pleased at what we've accomplished today. That's for sure.
Keith, you have anything on Zoom for him?
The only question I have, or at least my readers that have been commenting to me all day, say, ask Coach, does he have enough wide receivers to run the spread? Why did he not sign a wide receiver?
Yeah, we've got a lot of receivers on the roster. That's probably one of our deepest areas, to be honest. There was a handful that didn't play last year. There's a couple that were injured and didn't play. There's a couple that was redshirted. I played receiver, so I say this with the utmost respect, but you can go find a receiver whenever you want one. They're a dime a dozen. But I don't know. I can't answer that question yet. I think we've got some talent on the roster. I'm excited to get out there and work with them this spring. But if we need one, I promise you there's some receivers in the portal that they will not be very difficult to find. Again, we really stress the importance of O-line, D-line, and then obviously DBs because we'd lost some guys to the portal in that area before we got here. So I will be worried about receiver. Obviously, that position is near and dear to my heart, but I'm not worried about finding some if we don't have enough talent there.
Good. Thank you.
You bet.
Anybody else have anything?
One last question.
All right.
Walker Wood, is he a receiver? Is he a quarterback? Is he both? A hybrid?
Let's say both. I don't know yet. I know he came here as a quarterback. He played receiver last year. I think he's a really good receiver. He's going to start the spring out doing some quarterback. So I'm anxious to get out there and see, what he can do there. But he is very similar to a young man that we coach at Valdosta State who's an All-American and caught a lot of balls. So I've already talked to him. He said, Coach, I'd like to start off at quarterback, but if you see fit that I need to be the receiver, that I'm on board with it. The thing I like about Walker is he seems to be a great young man and a leader. Seems like he's got, a voice in the team right now. And this morning was our first morning of county fair. We go out there and we set up different drills and we work them really hard. And he was a war daddy this morning, so I'm excited to work with him. So I don't know if I answered your question directly, but that's the best I can give you.
Yes. All right, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Coach.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Keith.
Okay.
All righty.
No questions from the staff in the back. Coach, how come you didn't let me sign one more tight end?